Hey, we're back. It's Friday, March 17th, and yesterday I was working on the left elevator, which I'll continue on today. Really at this point, what's left is to just button it up and then start working on the trim tab, except the last thing that I got to last night was working on the tabs that I showed you on the elevator, sort of the tabs to close out that section of the elevator where it's going to meet up with the trim tab. The bending went really poorly. I'll get more into that later in terms of how I'm going to remedy that situation. But I'm going to start today with just riveting the skeleton and getting ready to attach the skin. So anyways, let's get after it.
Picking up where we left off the night before, getting the spar all riveted together with the reinforcement plates and the nut plates that will attach the rod end bearing so this can connect to the horizontal stabilizer. And then the end rib, it's got sort of two ribs backed up to each other, so the flange is doubled. And the reason I mention it is this is definitely a spot where you need, if you're going to use a squeezer, you need to have a longeron yoke that can reach over both of those flanges. If you use the standard, whatever it is, 3-inch yoke that comes with your squeezer, when you activate it or actuate the squeezing action, it's going to come down and actually fold over partially one of those flanges, and it makes a mess. So anyways, pro tip, get that longeron yoke. You'll use the crap out of it.
Okay, time for the update regarding the left elevator skin and the folding of the tabs. I finished riveting the skeleton together, and it came out great. Happy to say. So this is done and ready to be kind of wedged into the skin and the skin riveted on. But the skin is not ready yet. I could do a little bit more, but I think it's time to address the problem with the little tabs. So for a recap, this is the left elevator skin. So this is the trailing edge of the elevator. And right here is where the trim tab will be, attached with a little piano hinge right here so that the trim tab can function back and forth like this. Right here, from where you're looking right here is where I folded in. There are little tabs here to close out this section. So there are little sort of ears that stick out. And then you fold one down and then fold the other one so that the top one overlaps the bottom one for shedding water. You do that by making some bending blocks and applying double-sided tape on them so they don't move. And so one block would be inside to hold this shape and to provide a form for that bend, that folding action, to fold around to create a nice edge. The other one would be on the outside, clamping the whole thing together. And people have a variety of experiences with how this actually turns out. Some people, no problem. Other people, forget it. I'm in the forget it camp after I did it. So you fold it down with a bit of force with a block of wood to get the shape started, and then you take the rivet gun with a flush set and you sort of kind of iron it out, get it flat. The problem is if any of this stuff moves when you're doing that, you'll move this way from the bend line, and the bend where the bend should be further out here, the bend will be further in, and that happened to me, and not by much. I'm talking about 1/16 of an inch, but that was enough that when it's folded over, these two parts don't overlap cleanly. So this one, as this one's folding, this one's not bent yet. As this one's folding down, it meets this one before it can be folded all the way in. So to try to salvage it, what I did is once it got here, I trimmed, maybe a 30-second off of this edge so they could go a little bit cleaner, and then tried to do the other one. But the result just came out awful. So here's what I can do. I can try to flatten these out and rebend them, which I'm not crazy about because these are really hard bends, and aluminum doesn't like to be bent over and over and over again. But what many people do, people who say, screw this, it sucks, is they form a tiny little riblet. So they cut those ears off and they just fabricate a little rib to go inside of there, which would be great, actually. I mean, structurally, it's fine. Better than these are probably, and it'll clean that up. So here's how it turned out, I'm afraid to admit. It's upside down, so this is the bottom, this is the top. But they're folded together, that part worked. However, there's a nasty little hard crease bend right here where the relief hole is because it's too tight in there. That thing probably wouldn't take very long to develop a crack along the trailing edge of the skin. So what I'm going to do is flatten these out, cut these tabs off, fabricate a little riblet, put it in there, make sure the edges are all nice and clean and smooth, and we'll move on from there. I'll tell you how it goes. So I've got that. This is about the shape of the riblet that will go in that spot. This was the template that I used to create the bending blocks, and I think it's a little bit oversized, which is actually good because I'll use this with a piece of like 25 thousandths aluminum and start to form it around it, get a shape, test fit it, and then I can work my way down from there. So that's what I'm going to do now. Let's see how it goes. Just a quick update as I'm unbending this. Let's see if it will read on camera, but oh my gosh. If it's possible to see it here, the blue line where my fingernail is right there, that's supposed to be the bend line. You can see how badly overbent it is. Well, that's actually like 3/8. Ugh. Yeah, so these are gonna have to go away.
Well, you saw how badly mangled those ears were trying to get it straightened out. So it took a couple of hours to completely trim those off and clean them up to a place that it looked like, it was a serviceable part. When you're making that bend, you're using the rivet gun to make the final portion of that bend. So it's pretty tight. So I'm just going back and forth here, getting it all kind of trimmed off. And once I have it trimmed off, I put in the trim tab spar, and that kind of makes the whole thing much less floppy and easier to work with. And then it's just a lot of working with files and in that little wood block template I have in there to kind of hold it in place so there's more rigidity to the structure while I work on filing up those edges. And then here I'm drawing out the lines to fabricate the little riblet that I'm going to put in there. So that's what this whole portion is right here, getting it all shaped to conform. And then here in just a minute, I'll give a description of how that actually turned out.
Okay, update to the update to the update. I've been working on this for a couple of hours. That overbending situation really did create a mess. But I have managed to cleanly unbend, it wasn't clean before, unbend the tabs, remove them, Did a lot of filing to clean up this edge as much as possible. This is the top of the elevator. The bottom of the elevator is the uglier part, thank goodness. But it's all cleaned up, and then I fabricated a little riblet that will pop in right here where those tabs would have been folded. So I'll kind of move this around a little bit so you can see. So that's my solution to where those tabs would be folded down. This isn't completely square in here. I still have to draw out the rivet lines and whatever, but it's a good solution. It's possible that the gap between, because I trimmed these where these tabs were all the way back to the relief holes, the gap between the trim tab and this closeout right here might be a little bit more than what was intended, which is really narrow, like 3/32. However, if I want to later, I can clean this up with some fiberglass over it and clean it up and get the gap exactly like I like it. So this is a little bit of surgery that worked out. I'll go ahead and finish up drilling rivet holes for this little riblet here, prime it, and then we'll go ahead and finish up riveting the skin to the skeleton. And then tomorrow, I'll work on the trim tab assembly. That's where we're at.
Here I'm drawing out the rivet lines and drilling the holes so that I can install this little riblet permanently. The surgery was a success. I actually did finish closing out the left elevator before this night was done, but we'll end the video right here. Thanks for hanging in. I know this is a longer one, but it required a bit more explanation what was going on, and somebody might find it helpful. So like and subscribe if you do, and if you don't, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one.